Hey y'all, welcome. This video we're going to be practicing some homework problems. It's going to be a little lower key, a little less, I guess, less put together than some of our other videos on here. So I'm in R right now. I'm going to go on and pull up our homework application, and then we'll practice some homework problems, give you a feel for how I would go about doing this. This is our studio right now. I know mine looks a little different than yours. Find the place with the little angle, kind of like we did in the last video. The little cursor, and then paste your stuff in there, and then run it. Hopefully this time when you run it, if you're watching these two videos apart, it runs a little quicker. In the last worked video, we kind of worked on continuous data. In this one, then I'll work on some categorical data just to get some practice. And it looks like we've got a bunch of grades that pop up here. I'm going to do, I think last video we did problem 314, so I'm going to do problem 314 and work with this. Note that the number of classes is only for continuous, so we don't have to play with the number of classes at all. You can play with the sample size. I'm going to leave the sample size. Well, maybe we can make it a little different. Why don't we make it 18 just for fun, just so that we can do something a little bit different. So I'm on problem 314 with a sample size of 18. So first, what can we do with categorical data? Well, remember what we did. We can still do our frequencies and we can do our relative frequencies, but frequencies and relative frequencies, but we can't do cumulative frequencies. So cumulative frequencies aren't a thing with categorical data. For the plots we had, recall that we still have our version of histograms. They're called bar charts. We have our Pareto charts, and we have our box and whisker plots. Not box and whisker, but the pie charts are the ones that we talked about with categorical data. So that's what we're going to be playing with today. Now, you can either kind of copy and paste this or whatever you're going to do. I'm actually just going to record these on mine. Instead of writing gold, silver, and bronze, these are, you can see up in the data type, it tells you what the different options are. So this is clearly medals, like in the Olympics. I'm just going to write a B for bronze, a G for gold, and an S for silver as I'm copying this data down into my Blackboard. So BG, PG, SG, bronze, gold, silver, bronze, 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 bronze. Ooh, 4 bronzes in a row. Silver, gold, gold, silver, silver. Okay, so now I've got my data written down. I'm really quick gonna count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and I just have to remind myself that we actually did do 18. That's right, instead of 15. So 18 different values. That looks right. So first of all, I'm going to go on and make my regular old frequency table. So remember, with our class, there's just a lot of easier things about summarizing data with categorical data. You kind of want the categorical data question on your exam. First of all, you don't have to reorganize your data set. Like the first thing we did with continuous took a fair amount of time to rewrite it in numerical order. Here you don't have to worry about that. All you do is, well, you don't reorder it at all. You just start with your classes. So I'm going to go gold, silver, bronze. And then we just count how many gold, silvers, and bronzes we have. So 1, 2, actually maybe just for fun, I'll do them in their color. So I guess this will be gold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is there any golds I'm missing? Nope, 6. 6 golds. And then silver, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 silvers. And actually, if we know that there are 18 and we have 6 golds and 5 silvers, then we can calculate that we have 7 bronzes. But we'll just calculate, we'll count the bronzes. So, oops. There's 1 bronze, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 bronzes, and the world still makes sense. So 7 bronze. Oh, that would have been fun to write them in their own color, but we're not that cool. We'll have 7 bronzes. So again, that's a total of 18. We can sum up the frequencies or add them all together to get the total sample size is 18 different values. And again, we set this in our thing. So let's see, that's our frequencies. Now we can't do cumulative frequencies, but we can calculate relative frequencies. So relative frequencies, we take each of the values and we divide it by the total number of values. So 6, my frequencies for that class divided by the total is 18. 5, my frequencies for the silver class divided by total, 5 over 18. And 7, the frequencies for the bronze class divided by 18. And that's my relative frequencies. And this really is about as cool as we get with our tables. So we can go in the homework app, we can look in the solutions and make sure I'm not missing anything. So we've got frequencies, gold. So don't be confused by the order here, right? Gold is 6. That's the first one I have. Then 5, then 7. And that matches my homework. 6, then 5, then 7. So make sure you're looking at the category name, not just the order. Relative frequencies, 6 over 18, 5 over 18, 7 over 18. And that matches. And you can see that you have the simplified relative frequencies. You don't have to simplify fractions if you don't want to. The decimal relative frequencies and the percentages if you want to write those, but those aren't necessarily required. So from here, we can just start doing our graphing, I guess. So I'm going to go on and I'll do we'll do a bar chart. And then we'll do a Pareto chart. Then we'll do let's do a relative frequency. A relative frequency Pareto chart. That's like the trickiest thing I could possibly ask you. And I don't think it's going to be too bad, but we'll kind of go through these together. Okay, so for the bar chart, we have our y-axis and we have our x-axis. Bar chart by default just has regular old frequencies. And then for my boxes, I just have gold, silver, and bronze as my labels. And my x-axis label is probably going to be medals or something like that, or Olympic medals, something. Now for my frequencies, I'm looking at the column here, looking at, okay, 5, 6, and 7. So it's definitely going to be bigger than 0, but I can still include 0. So I'll probably just do 0 and count up to it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 0 and there's 7. And we'll just count up by ones. So for gold, the bar goes up to 6. So there's 6. Draw up the bar to 6. For silver, the bar goes up to 5. Now remember, these bars in a bar chart do not touch. So I'm intentionally keeping my bars not touching. And then in bronze, the bar goes up to 7. Now for the grade, I don't particularly care if it's perfectly high, but the bronze should be higher than the gold, which should be higher than the silver. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. And this is my bar chart. And that was it. Now for the Pareto chart, remember the Pareto chart is exactly like the bar chart, except the order is from highest to lowest. So instead of going gold, then silver, then bronze, now bronze is going to be moved to be before gold. So it's going to go bronze, then gold, then silver from highest to lowest. Everything else looks the same. So we've got frequency, And we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'll make a little more room, or a little more use of my height there. And I'm just going to write bronze, then gold, and silver. And again, they just go in height order, or if you're doing this for the first time, they go in the order of their frequencies. So you want to do bronze with the highest frequency first, then gold with the second highest frequency second, and silver with the third highest frequency third. And then I just draw that out. So bronze goes up to 7. So there's 7. So bronze goes all the way up to 7. Then I leave a space. Gold goes up to 6. Then I leave a space. And silver goes up to 5. Now in between these, again, I might go check with my homework app, and I'll do that now. Look at my frequency bar chart. Oh, and I don't even have the relative bar chart on here. Note that, again, this order is arbitrary. The computer kind of determines this arbitrarily. Actually, I think it goes in alphabetical order. So the order, it doesn't match what I have, but remember the bar chart, it doesn't have to. Bar chart can be any order. So the computer's order here is actually just as correct as my order is in my bar chart. Both of those are A-OK. So in this bar chart, they have gold, which goes up to 6, silver, which goes up to 5, bronze, which goes up to 7, and they have the spaces, so I did that bar chart correctly. The Pareto chart goes bronze, then gold, then silver, so I did that correctly too. Now remember, for relative frequency anything, all that we do is we can use this original chart that we have here. And actually, I'm literally just going to make a copy of it, put it over here, and recall that if we just take this and divide each of these numbers by our total, 18, magically this becomes a relative frequency chart. So this was a Pareto chart over here. Now, by dividing by 18, I've just made it a relative frequency Pareto chart. Ta-da! Super complicated. I told you, it's pretty ridiculous. But that was it. That's all we got. So maybe for the last thing, what I'll do is we'll do the pie chart just for fun. Honestly, I don't think I've ever asked for a pie chart on an exam, but it is fair game. I could start today. So for a pie chart, I actually, that's not true. Sometimes I do expect you to know what they mean. I do expect you to know what they mean, even if you don't typically draw one. But now I'm going to calculate the percentages. So if I'm doing a pie chart, it's usually easier to have the percentages than the frequencies in relative frequency form and fractional form. So I'm going to get out my calculator. 6 over 18 times 100. This gives me 33.3%. 5 over 18 times 100 gives me 27.7%. 0.8 if I rounded correctly. And then 7 divided by 18. Oops, I did that wrong. 7 divided by 18 gives me 38.8%. And again, that'd be 0.9% if I rounded correctly, but I didn't. So this is about what we're working with. Now in a pie chart, remember we've got a big circle, and I'm going to draw a circle if I can. Cool. Oh, cool fancy program lets me draw a pretty circle. And now we want to break it up. One of the things we mentioned last time is that when we were talking about pie charts is that you can break these kind of into quarters, which represent 25% each in each quarter. In this particular case, I'm going to start by graphing the one that's closest to like 25% or two 25%, 50% together, because that's just going to be a little easier. Now I note, so I'm going to start, I'm going to kind of make a pie shape that looks like this. But I note that this is a little bit bigger than 25%. It's 27%. So I'm going to start by making, here's my center dot there. I'm going to start here. And instead of going straight up, which would be 25%, I'm going to tilt it out just a little bit to make it a little bit bigger than 25%. And this is my silver category. Silver was 27.7%. Now, honestly, normally I don't draw these little dotted lines in here. I find them confusing. So actually, I'm going to remove them right now. But I do mentally, this is what's going on in my mind, is these mental little dotted lines at these quarter portions. So with just 3 categories, actually, I'm going to do the next one. The next one is 33%. Now that's 1/3 of a circle exactly. So if I think about 25%, this would be 25%. This would be 50%. And then we said if you cut that in half, that gives you a different line. That line would be, let's see, whatever 50 minus 12.5 is, 37%. Actually, that's really, really close to what we want to do for this one, that 37.75%. So maybe that's the one that we'll do next instead of the 33% because it's so close to a nice number. So again, if I had drawn this, so this would be 25%. If I did all the way over, this would be 50%. But if I just do it to in between these two lines, if I just do it right in the middle, that adds an extra 12.5% to my 25%. So that whole area would be 37.5%, which again is pretty darn close to this one. So that's kind of mentally what I'm thinking through as I'm drawing this out. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to stick with this kind of diagonalish line. Now, if this was 37.5%, I want it to be just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to make it just a little bigger, and that's going to be 38.8%. So this is bronze. That's going to be 38.8%. Now, because all of these add up to 100, this last remaining section by default is going to be gold. I don't have to do anything special for that. So this gold is going to be 33.3%. Now, when I'm looking at this picture, I want to make sure that bronze is a little bit bigger than gold is, because the bronze percentage is bigger than the gold percentage. So thinking about this, the bronze percentage of this chart, I guess, looks a little bigger than the gold one is. If it didn't look quite big enough, what you could do is you could really quick just erase this line and make it just a little bigger so that bronze looked a little bigger than gold. I actually prefer my original line. I think that looks pretty good. But if you wanted to, you could erase that. And that is how we put together our circle pie chart. I'll fill it in with the different colors because what else are you going to do? And this is really all there is to our categorical summaries. It's not a lot more than this. Again, your categorical problems are going to be the easier ones that you're going to get. You kind of want the categorical problems because they are relatively easy. You've got the Pareto chart. You've got the relative frequencies. You got the can't have cumulative frequencies, so you just got bar chart, Pareto chart, relative frequency bar chart, relative frequency Pareto chart, and then your pie graph. If I want to go and check this out, I can go in the homework app. I can check out that this looks pretty darn close to what I would have expected. You've got bronze, you've got silver, and you've got gold, and these are broken up. It looks like bronze is a little bit bigger than gold, which is bigger than silver. And honestly, I'm surprised with how close that looks at my graph. Note that where it's at in the circle isn't important. What you're looking at is the size of the slice of the pie for each of these particular components. This has been working through an example of categorical problem for Chapter 2 from the homework application. Practicing creating our frequency distribution for categorical data, practicing creating the bar plot, which is the histogram type deal that we do for categorical data. It's different than a histogram, because the x-axis marks each of the categorical categories and the bars are separated by some space. We practiced putting together a Pareto chart, which is just a bar chart in order. We made the Pareto chart a relative frequency Pareto chart just by dividing the y-axis values by the total. Then we calculated some percentages from our relative frequencies and created our pie graph, and that was about it. In the next videos, we'll be moving on to Chapter 3, talking about some numerical data analysis instead of the visual stuff.